Hello guys, I hope we're doing good and alright. I want to apologise, I haven't done a podcast in a while. I finally just found a place where I can kind of get it done. Hopefully there's not too much noise, and if there is, I do apologise for the audio quality. I've been missing doing these a lot, on speaking to you, on like just trying to add so much value to you. And anyway, I've really missed it. And today what I want to talk about is the linkages between like dyslexia and mental health. I know in the last podcast I spoke about my experience with it. And to be quite honest, I'm still going through that with the ups and downs and learning and taking things easy and really trying to forgive myself. But today I really want to start off spend a lot of time talking about the foundations. Anyway, this is the intro, guys. Made this little intro, then we go to this the actual thing. So anyway, today I'll talk about the kind of start, like why dyslexics can have more mental health issues than maybe other than people without dyslexia. We'll explain it and talk into that, and hopefully put it from a point of perspective where you don't feel hopeless, where it's not something negative, where it's something that you just have to work on, something if you don't understand, because it doesn't have to control your life. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I'll see you all again in a couple seconds after my little intro thing. So the big question is this: how can dyslexics like us create a place, a community, a tribe, where people at any stage of life can come and solve any challenge, amplify their strengths, and ultimately help them become who they were meant to be, or in other words, conquer their dyslexia? That is the question, and this show is the answer. My name's Theo Goff, and welcome to the Conquering Dyslexia podcast. So guys, dyslexia and mental health. Now, the first question I want to answer, not question, yes, is that the linkages between dyslexia and mental health, because dyslexia is something that does affect the brain, but affects the brain in some cognitive aspects, like with remembering certain things, with storing information, with retrieving information, and with learning, and all these different types. It affects it in a lot of different ways. But it doesn't really, when you look at the cause of dyslexia, or the different brains of dyslexia, it doesn't really cause someone to be depressed or have mental health issues. Because the majority of the time, mental health issues are caused because of the environment, because of the outside stimulation. We basically go into the world, have outside stimulation with ourselves, and then we create a meaning for whatever this means. Oh, this means this means that, this is a traumatic event. And then that can build upon us and really can build us down in a lot of ways. And a lot of part of our growing up, so as a dyslexics, when we grow up, through the education system, through school, when we're really early young, we try and make a model of the world so that we can live through it, and everyone makes the model of the world. But if a big part of the model of the world is being told that you can't do things, you're being shown that you're slower than everyone else, being shown that you're different, and maybe you may not be diagnosed with dyslexia at this point, and it looks and it feels so much more hard and so much more different than, say, other people, then guess what? Your mind has to make sense of that and create beliefs, or create stories around it, so you can cope, so you can live. And a lot of these will be like, oh, I can't learn this, or this is who I am, or I'm stupid, or I'm different, I'm awkward, or whatever. And then we go forward in life believing these stories that we tell ourselves. And what I feel that I had to do massively is work on myself and really looking back and thinking, okay, this was a wrong story I told myself. I'm not dumb, I'm not stupid. It's not that I can't read, it's not that I can't write, it's that I find these difficult. It's that I can do this very, very slow and very painfully, and it takes a lot of effort, and my brain's not as efficient as everyone else in these certain areas. But yet, it doesn't mean that I can't do it. And so there's a lot of, just from me, my story, there's a lot of working on that personally, with dealing with issues, especially with confidence. Like, one thing that I really, really struggled with. Now, this could be slightly part of the dyslexic tendency, and also it would be partly the fact that your self-esteem is beaten down day after day because you're told you can't do something, like reading, like writing, and dyslexia can change your mind. Being social in a way that because you can't relate to everyone as much, and there's so much more of that. Don't really want to get into that, and don't really know enough about that side, but I do know for sure like your self-esteem and being social can suffer from a lack of self-esteem. Lack of self-esteem is caused by a lack of ability in certain areas, and so when we look at that and we look at why it's caused, it's because of our past. Then we've got to look at how can we rebuild that? How can we not be held back by dyslexia in any means, in any form? One of the best ways to do that really is simply by working yourself. It's simply by not calling yourself broken, not calling yourself wrong. And this is one of the hardest things. It's to take a look at yourself. You don't dealing with it like in here. You take a step out of yourself. You look back, thinking, okay, who am I? Why do I act this way? Why do I think these thoughts? And just keep asking why. A big part of it is understanding human behavior, of why humans do what you do, and why do you do different than other people. And like, if you look back in the past, what has happened in the past to make you believe and act this way? And there's something really interesting when I learned about a course I kind of been on and went through. It's by the person called does the podcast Dyslexics. I can't remember her name, but anyway, I said this training course is incredible. I watched it many times, learning so much about it. But also, she says trauma is a massive part of dyslexia, and mental health trauma. Like, you could 100% call it trauma. Obviously, there's different degrees, but trauma is when sort of like your brain is on when your brain is going through a lot of stress. And a lot of stress can be bullying, uncertainty, all these other things can cause that. But we do have we can cause trauma from our past. Sorry guys, my speech isn't flowing like it normally does. I'm just really excited to get this out to you, and hopefully you can learn something from this. Anyway, we've got to look at, okay, this is trauma. How do we overcome our trauma that's happened to us as a kid? And the first thing, I don't want to label it something strong. We don't say, okay, this is trauma, this is horrific, I'm a complete victim, this is terrible. Let's go back to our past where everything was rubbish and let's just experience it and how rubbish it is. No, we don't go back and thinking, okay, how bad I have it. We go back and think, okay, this is what happened. Yes, it hurts. Yes, I feel these feelings. But we have to realize, okay, this is what happened, and I feel this because of it. And there's so many different ways we can help us dealing with trauma. But the first step is accepting it, accepting that I think a certain way, I have negative thoughts, I have negative beliefs because of the trauma that's happened to me in the past. First step, you've got to accept it. You've got to realize, okay, this is what happened. And then you have to go through the process of, you can say rehabilitation. We can say overcoming these negative beliefs, or overcoming these negative stories, or say overcoming the past. But it's really about you healing from the wounds that you had in the past. And the way we've got to do that really is by looking at them, things, just analysing yourself. Okay, there's a couple of ways. One way that I used to teach is okay, what negative beliefs do you have now? And kind of looking back, okay, you have negative beliefs about your reading, about your writing, about who you are, about your confidence, about your future. Why do you have these? Well, it's because of the past. And you really want to look back and find a few key moments in the past where it's been awful. I remember a couple ones for me was one time I got kicked out of a classroom. I remember I touched this person, this boy's, he had a 2000 and something Guinness World Record books, and you love those as a kid because they're so colourful and they're so pretty, and you open it up and you look through the thing with all the pictures and stuff. And then, I remember looking at a book, and then the teacher got so annoyed at me and kicked me out of the class. How dare you do this? This is the last straw, I'll kick you out of the class. And I got so annoyed and upset. I was like, everyone wants me to read books, and when I open a book, I get told off. I think the kid got upset because I was opening his book. But I didn't know that at the time. I had no idea why I was being told off or got sent out of the classroom. And I remember being so upset and crying and kicking all the lunch boxes everywhere and just sitting down in a slump and just thinking to myself, I don't understand other people. I don't understand them. I don't understand how people work. And then from that moment on, I was like, okay, I've got to understand how people work. I've got to understand how the world works. And big thing from coming there was like, I'm not enough. I've got to improve. I've got to do better. I think from that moment, I remember that moment clarity of that. I don't understand anything, and I've got to carry on improving to actually survive in this world, because I'm like not good enough in a sense. And that was when I was maybe 4 or 5. And one thing I can see over and over and over again, and also like human self-esteem, confidence, a belief in ourselves is also can be a really good contributing factor of having low mental health. But another one is this underlying belief that we are not enough. Sometimes we work harder. Sometimes like we judge ourselves too harshly. Like we're awkward. We're this. We're that. We can't do this. We can't do that. And this negative voice in our head, and it's always been there since we were in school. And that voice has came about because we failed to do things in the past, and because we failed to do these things, and we see in our classroom that we can't do this, other people can. We create a story that we are not enough, that we can't do it, and no matter what we do, it's not good enough. Because even though if we did get what you want, we'd still have that belief that we're not enough, and still go through that cycle. And maybe with confidence, maybe we say we're not enough, and that doesn't lead us to work on ourselves. It just leads us to beating ourselves up. Maybe we try a few things and they don't work, and it goes back to the same negative pattern again. And I remember one time when I realised that, oh my God, I realised I'm not enough. And speaking to people, there's so many people who have had to deal with the same sort of stuff and have healing processes. I've told it on this podcast a couple of times when I was like doing this training course, and I broke through this wall and looked back on the wall, and like it was a really emotional moment. I was like, okay, what's this message on the backside of this wall that was like this limiting barrier? And it was like, you are not enough. And then I realised, oh my God, I've got to say to myself, I am enough, over and over and over again. Keep on saying it, keep on repeating itself back to me over again. And that would help like rehabilitate me, or that would help realising, look, I don't have to do these things. I don't have to, like, I can get whatever I want by keep on being who I am. And that I am good enough to get anything I want. And I didn't quite explain that the way I wanted to. But guys, I hope you understand the gist here. So, just to recap, just to summary, I'll probably talk about this again sometime. Dyslexia has a high risk of correlating with mental health struggles. And the reason why is because we go through negative experiences like trauma, and that trauma can stay with us. Why? Because of the story we tell ourselves, because of what we make that trauma mean to us. Now, our subconscious always makes a meaning. But oftentimes really helpful is realising that we can actually change the meaning of our past situations, change our associations to that. It's really powerful. And then that can lead us to life here, believing that we're not enough, having low self-confidence, having low belief in ourselves, and kind of keep ourselves limited in some way or some capacity. And also that can manifest yourself into depression and other mental health struggles that I don't feel I've got the knowledge yet to speak about. But yeah. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this little introduction onto why dyslexia has mental health issues. And guys, you are enough. Keep saying that to yourself. Anyway, I'll see you all again soon for another podcast. I hope to try and do these more regularly. Let's see what happens. I'm still in Thailand doing my stuff. Anyway guys, bye-bye. Take care and farewell.